Hello everyone, this is Jackson, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a room tour of my gaming room slash where I do all my editing slash streaming, just all the fun stuff. So starting off, this is the entrance to my room. I'm not going to go out there, but you walk in and this is the first view you see. So walking in, this used to actually also be my bedroom. And then I moved my bedroom out and was able to turn this into more of a gaming room. So doing this small walk around view, I already tried recording this video with my normal camera, and then I realized afterwards that the camera has absolutely no stabilization. So the entire video was shaky and it was pretty terrible. Luckily, I think the phone quality here is just fine. So we will be doing this with the phone and hopefully it turns out all right. We will start back here and start with this first shelf right here. So as you can see, this is a glass case. And up at the top, there is a CRT TV. So an big old heavy TV. This is the TV that I use as the logo slash mascot of my podcast channel. So I was able to find this for cheap. It's, I think like 20 bucks at a garage sale. I got it all cleaned up, took some nice pictures of it, edited it, and now I use it for the podcast channel. But right now it's just kind of sitting on top. Just kind of sitting there. Below that, in this glass case, we have a Goku figure that came from South Korea from my grandparents. And we've got the Sparking Zero Collector's Edition figure with Broly and Ultra Instinct Goku. And in the back, we have a Jar Jar Binks Funko, signed actually by Ahmed Best. I got to meet him and that was pretty cool, and I had him sign that, so that was pretty neat. Below that, we have a bunch of Blue Lock figures. So we have Nagi, Batra, Isagi, Rin in the back, and Chigiri. And then on the shelf below that, we've got some more Dragon Ball figures. Goku Super Saiyan, Ultra Instinct Goku, and Beast Gohan. And then two more Blue Lock figures, Sai Itoshi and Oliver IQ. And then on the very bottom shelf, we have an original NES in a travel pack. And I think that travel pack is actually kind of rare. But I got that for Christmas from my grandparents one year. So that's pretty cool. Sticking to this wall, before we get to the desk or to the PCs, this is the desk that I do all of my collecting recording on. All I do is I just move it over here where there's a little bit more room, use these shelves as the background, but that's pretty nice. And then that's where my puppy Kip, that's where he lays down, and then just some extra shelves down there hold some random stuff. But then moving on, that is the setup. Pretty crazy setup, and been building it up for a few years now. But this section is the gaming PC. So that's the main PC, does all the gaming. It's got a 3090 in it. It might be a 3090 Ti, I can't quite remember. And then main monitor, secondary monitor, obviously keyboard, mouse. I've got a sound system. Because this is a dual PC setup, I had to get a specific sound system to get it working how I wanted to. But yeah, this is where all the gaming, chill out sessions, all of it is right there. And then like I said, I do run a dual PC setup specifically for streaming. but I also turned this PC into like the work PC slash the editing PC. So it's really nice being able to split the workload between the two PCs, because there were a few times I had quite a bit of trouble trying to do everything I wanted to with just the single PC. So I split it off, and then you can see over here, this one also has 2 monitors. It did originally only have one, but then once I started doing like more recording and stuff, I realized the second monitor would be really useful. So I ended up just getting a cheap one, the one on the left here. It's a pretty cheap one from Best Buy, I think. And then this TV was just given to me, and for the longest time I had nowhere to put it. And then when I moved my room stuff out of here, I had this big open empty space, so I figured that would be a pretty cool spot to have it. Moving on to this wall, it's kind of hard with the lighting, but you can see I just got some posters and random stuff. Right here we actually have an art print signed by both the Japanese right there and the English voice actors of Piccolo. Piccolo is my favorite Dragon Ball character, so getting that signed by both of them, and I actually met the Japanese voice actor, it was pretty cool. So that's definitely one of the cooler parts I've got going on in here. Moving that way, that's just the Breath of the Wild map. And I've got Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and 3 posters with my movie tickets in the frame of number 2. And then up there is a nameplate my grandpa made for me back in the day, back when I called myself, or when Jackson Air 54 was my gamer tag. That's pretty cool. Nothing much going on underneath the desk. I do have 2 backup battery supplies, just because sometimes our area does lose power every now and then, so just as a safety precaution, I got them both at Costco, so they were a lot cheaper than normal. Moving on to the left, this is something I recently added. The camera lighting is not the greatest, but it makes it look more yellow. It's more of a lime green, but it's a pegboard with most of my controllers hung up. So I ordered the pegboard from Amazon and then just screwed it into the wall. But a bunch of my controllers, I hang them up here now, and I think it looks really nice. Obviously starting up there, NES, Super NES, N64, GameCube, some Switch Pro controllers. That's an 8-bit DOE controller. Wii U gamepad, Joy-Con grips, and then some Xbox controllers. And there's plenty of room for more controllers if I ever need it. So right there is PC2. Like I said, PC1 was a 3090. This is an old 2070. And when I say old, I believe it is on its last legs. I honestly might need to upgrade it soon. I think it's finally starting to die out on me. But on this shelf tower, below that, I've got my Switch 2. Below that, I've got my PS5. And on the very lowest level, I've got my 3 main controllers. So I got a Switch 2 Pro controller, PS5, Xbox, and they're all on charging docks. So that's pretty cool. To the left of that, I've got an air filter. Where we live is pretty, it gets pretty dusty. So I always try to have an air filter running just to help mitigate some of that dust, because I like keeping this space nice and tidy. So I really hate dust. But then below that, we got my VR headset, which I haven't really gotten to try much yet. Every time I've used it, it kind of hurts my eyes. And then just some random stuff. This is kind of like the camera shelf. That's the camera I do most of my recording with when possible. And then below that, I just have my Wii U, couple extra things. Moving on to this glass display shelf. It does actually light up, so that's pretty cool. Starting up here, Piccolo figure, Super Saiyan Blue, Goku and Vegeta figure, and then a big Sonic plush with a Dragon Ball bucket hat. So it's just pretty random things I stuck together. But moving down the top shelf, these are kind of like some of my nicer figures. Obviously that is Jinx from Arcane, Arthur from Fire Force, and Melia from Xenoblade. And then back there, that is the Arcane Season 1 Collector's Edition. Arcane is a really great show, one of my favorites. Below that, if you've ever watched the channel before, a lot of the time when I unbox a special edition, I will take an item out and I just display it here. And it's kind of a cool way to display just some stuff from special editions that I otherwise wouldn't. Below that, this is Lego Star Wars. I keep the Legos in here just because, like I said, I really hate trying to dust them. Obviously with Legos, every nook and cranny can get stuff in it. And then the very bottom shelf, we got mostly Lego Nintendo and then a little Minecraft cube on the left there. Moving over there, that's a window because this is technically in the basement. And then I just kind of keep some random stuff here. I set up this Christmas tree this year, so I think that's pretty fun. And then those are the lights I use while recording, and a fan just because it gets pretty hot in here. So try to keep things cool. Up here, we've got this little mini shelf, and I just put a bunch of random figures on it. You can see we got Dragon Ball figures for the majority of it. Some random stuff, Rocket League, League of Legends, more Dragon Ball, Meta Knight, Beerus, Knuckles. Over here we got Final Fantasy VII characters. And then we got Mewtwo, Kirby, and Sonic on the end there. And that shelf, I used to have my entire Smash Bros. Amiibo collection until I moved it, and now I use it for those guys. So that's pretty cool. Starting back over here, forgot to show you, but this is just a closet. I cut it off with a curtain, so not much in here. You can see mainly boxes, mostly storage. We do have some random stuff over here, plushies, figures, Legos, a lot of Star Wars, but you can see it is mostly nothing. So back at the front on the left side, this first shelf, we got mostly Pokemon. So we got some Pokemon anime, Pokemon VHS tapes, and then at the bottom we've got some Sonic comics, and then right there it's a Prima. Back in the day, I don't know if they're out of business or not, but back in the day they made physical guides for a lot of games. So this is the Zelda guide box set. So it's actually pretty cool. Over there we just got a Pokemon poster, and then this is another pegboard with a bunch of random weapons from random stuff. That's a Stormbreaker, Apex Legends, Bloodhound Hunter? I think Bloodhound axe. It's been a while since I've played Apex. Got some lightsabers, Trunks sword, Deadpool Nerf guns. But yeah, I just display a lot of the random stuff on that. That's pretty cool. Moving on to this shelf. This is one of my favorite shelves. But again, another glass display. This is my main amiibo shelf. So I'm a huge amiibo collector. I've been collecting them since the very beginning. I have most of them. I'm only missing a few, and those are the like expensive ones or Japanese exclusive ones. But on the top, you can see it's a bunch of the box stuff. I have the Dark Donkey Kong and the Dark Bowser, the starter sets. And I think that's the only way you can get those ones. And so both of those are still sealed. So that's pretty cool. And on the very top shelf, this is mostly Zelda, Metroid. We got the Xenoblade, Noah and Mio in the front. A bunch of the random ones. On the shelf below that, it is mostly Splatoon and Kirby. Shelf below that is mostly Mario and Animal Crossing. And then you can see we have the Shovel Knight in the corner there. And then on the bottom shelf, it's all the random stuff. We got Monster Hunter, we got Street Fighter, the Yarn Yoshi amiibo, the Detective Pikachu amiibo. But that is the main amiibo shelf. And to the right of it, we have all of the Smash Bros amiibo. So these are in like a bat display. And so these are really cool. I had this big open space on this wall, so I figured it would be cool to do it like this. But I've got them in the order that they appear in Smash Bros. Ultimate, which is the order that they were introduced to the series. And so that, like I said, big amiibo collector. So that section of my collection is one of my favorites by far. So right here, you see we got a Monado, a replica Monado. I found that at a convention. And I always said if I find Xenoblade stuff at a convention, I will buy it instantly because Xenoblade are my favorite games and I love the series. And so I finally found one like within the last year and I immediately picked it up and I was super excited. Below the amiibo, these are the movie shelves. So a bunch of Steelbooks, a bunch of Blu-ray down there, the bottom left. But we got mostly MCU Steelbooks, and those extend to over here. We got some Star Wars movies, a bunch of random movie Steelbooks, more Steelbooks, and those are kind of more of collections. And then Blu-rays, and then this shelf I can't use much because of the vent there. Moving on, this is kind of the main part of the room, obviously with the most stuff. But starting at the top, I keep a bunch of my plushies up here. So you can see all these plushies I've accumulated over the years. And then as we move more to under here, it's more of small figures, statues, Funko, bunch of random stuff. And I try to keep all this stuff higher up because the higher up it is, the less dusty it will get. Like I said, I'm a neat freak. I really hate dusting. I like the stuff staying clean. I do not like the stuff getting dirty. But we will start with the Nintendo side because as you can see, there's a Nintendo side and then just kind of everything else. Up here, we'll start with the Switch collection. I have, this is my special edition of Breath of the Wild, and I had it signed by Patricia Somerset, Zelda's voice actress. So this is really cool part of the collection. But I have pretty much all of the first party physically released Switch games in release order. So that's back in 2017. And then as we move to the right, it's newer games. And then over here, we get into the Switch 2 with the newest game being Metroid Prime 4. To the right of that, we got Smash Bros. Ultimate, the Collector's Edition, Piranha Plant, and then the Skyward Sword Joy-Con. And then right here, we got the Switch 2 coin from the Best Buy Midnight launch. That's pretty neat. Back to the left, over here, we've got all the other Switch games that are like third party and stuff. Some Steelbooks. And then, like I said, just random stuff. SMT5, Persona, Hades 2, bunch of Minecraft, Sonic, Crash Bandicoot, Balatro. So that's where all the other Switch games go. To the right of that, some Switch special editions. Fire Emblem Warriors, World Championship, NES Edition, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. These are some of the digital games that I've purchased recently that I got on just with cards, just to kind of show something. Those are my Nintendo coins, and then the Hollow Knight Special Edition for Switch that was made by Fangamer, I believe. To the right of that, we have a bunch of Switch Pro controllers. I like collecting these because they're pretty cool. Splatoon 2, Xenoblade 2, Monster Hunter, Splatoon 3, Monster Hunter again. I have 2 of the Tears of the Kingdom Pro controllers. And then we got Switch 2 Pro controllers and an extra set of Joy-Con. And I do have the Resident Evil 9 Pro controller on pre-order. Just because, like I said, I like collecting those ones. Because they're pretty neat. Back over here, we've got my 3DS collection. So, all of my 3DS games from when I was a kid. For some reason, I bought 2 of the Angry Birds Star Wars. I don't know why I did that, but just kind of a funny thing. But as we move to the right, a lot of these are Pokemon, and these are like the Pokemon games I played. As in like the versions I actually played instead of picking up later. This is a surprisingly rare and expensive Pokemon game. I think this complete version of Soul Silver goes for like $400 to $500. I don't really know why. I know old Pokemon games always get more expensive, but that's kind of absurd. And then below that, we got DS and then random stuff. So again, DS games, some Pokemon games, the 2 Game & Watches released recently, well, within the past 5 years. And we got the NES and Super NES Classic Editions. And then this is actually a Japanese exclusive Super Famicom. And I think this is supposed to be like anime inspired. You can even see Goku right on the front there. So that was like some random thing I bought on eBay like 6 years ago. I have never even opened it, but it's kind of neat. To right of that, we've got my Wii U and Wii collection. So a lot of these, well, the Wii U was my console growing up through my teenage years. Obviously the Wii was more like kid into middle school. But most of these Wii U games were actually picked up after the Switch came out, just because a lot of them ended up getting cheaper than that. But pretty much all of these are first party. I don't have many non-first party Switch games or Wii U games. And then a lot of these Wii games were the ones that I had growing up. That's nostalgia shelf for me. To the right of that, we have a lot of older games, so NES games. We have 1 Super Nintendo game being Super Mario World. Yeah, Pokemon Pinball for the Game Boy. My N64, I've got Wave Race 64, GoldenEye, Pokemon Stadium, Excite Bike, and Ridge Racer. So those are all just random N64 games. I honestly don't even remember where I got these. But I've got them. Then over here we got some old Pokemon. Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Green. This is the Japanese version. And then Pokemon Crystal. Then over there, I've got a Zelda Switch Lite. Below that, we've got more Switch controllers. Those are all the Nintendo Switch Online controllers and a bunch of random Joy-Con stuff. Below that, we got more Switch games. Danganronpa, Link's Awakening, both versions of Mario Kart Live. I do kind of want to set up a big old track with those eventually. I think it'd be kind of cool. And then Starlink, Battle for Atlas, that's the Switch version, so it has the physical R-Wing. So that's pretty cool, having that physical. To the right, one of my favorite shelves, this is my Xenoblade shelf. So like I said, I'm a big Xenoblade fan, so I try to collect a lot of this stuff. But you can see we have some of the Japanese books. I have the Xenoblade X Special Edition for Wii U. Xenosaga 1 and 2, not 3, because 3 is really expensive right now. I don't know why only 3 is expensive. We have Xenogears, the Siren model kit, and I've actually built that. I think I just have it sitting in there. I intend to glue the pieces to that together at some point. And this is really cool. This is the Xenoblade original trilogy soundtrack. These are all on CDs. And so that's one of the cooler things in my Xenoblade section. Over to the left, I got more Xenoblade. That is the definitive edition collector's set that only came out in Europe. And then here I have my original Nintendo Switch OLED, and my Switch 2. And this bottom left shelf, that is most of my Switch special editions. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, 3 Fire Emblem games, Metroid Dread, Xenoblade 2 and 3, Fire Emblem, Shadows of Valentia, and then on the right there is my Japanese Famicom Detective Club special edition. And that only came out in Japan. This middle bottom shelf is a bunch of Nintendo guides and books. So we have stuff like Hyrule Historia on the left, some guides, Nintendo Power, some smaller Pokemon books, and then on the right, Pokemon cards. Then the final shelf on the Nintendo side is my Zelda Wii U and Persona 4, and behind that, my Persona 3 limited run special editions. So that is the Nintendo side. And then the other side, this is the random stuff, everything not Nintendo. So PlayStation, anime, manga. Up at the top left, this is all PlayStation. So we got Final Fantasy, Star Wars, Elden Ring, some Steelbooks on the right. And then below that, a bunch of scary games, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Split Fiction, my Astrobot special edition controller. And this is actually pretty cool. This is Roger. I met Roger Craig Smith and I had him sign this. This is my Frontier Steelbook. And then at the same convention, I was able to find this. This is signed by pretty much all the voice actors from Frontiers except for Amy, I believe. And so that was pretty cool finding that. Below that, we have the Dragon Ball movies and show collection. We've got Z on the left, Super on the right, and then a bunch of the movies right there in the middle. Below that, it's mostly anime shows and movies. So again, movies kind of on the left, Blue Lock, Castlevania, more Dragon Ball, Full Metal Alchemist, and then AOT. Below that, we got more of like video game movies and shows. So we have Pokemon on the left, Sonic, Mario, more Pokemon. Then on the right, we've got Arcane. Below that, we have an empty shelf I haven't filled out yet. And then below that, we got a bunch of random books and some Switch carrying cases. Back at the top in the middle, we've got Chainsaw Man manga collection. Below that, we've got Blue Lock. I'm a huge Blue Lock fan. I'm quite a few volumes behind, so I need to pick those up sometime soon. Below that, we've got more Dragon Ball. So this is the Sparking Zero Collector's Edition set on the left. We've got a Goku SH Figure Arts. I think that's how it's pronounced. I think that was like a limited time thing. We got Beast Gohan, Orange Piccolo, and some more books on the right. Below that, we've got some random manga, Fire Force, AOT, One Piece. That's the random shelf. This is the shelf of all the games and movies that I've yet to put in their actual place. Just because a lot of times I do like a recent pickups video or something along those lines. And then that is a video I'm working on currently of restoring a Rob the Robot, an original one. It was all nasty and gross, so I'm trying to fix it up. And then yeah, Clair Obscur, I started playing that a few days ago. It's pretty good. I have to play more to develop more thoughts about it. Then we have another empty shelf at the bottom there. The last column of shelves, at the top we've got JJK. Below that we got some more Dragon Ball figures, even more Dragon Ball figures, and below that is the Dragon Ball manga shelf. So we have OG, then we got Super, Jacko the space pirate on the right. And this was actually signed by the Grand Kai. I don't know why I'm blanking. This was signed by his voice actor. Below that, this is the Persona shelf. So we have the Persona 5 Royal Special Edition, Persona 3 Reload, a bunch of the games, manga, the Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden limited runs that came out of those. I set them up there. And then on the right we have Metaphor, because I figured it's a better spot to have it. So more like the Atlas shelf. On this shelf, that's my D&D dice set. I play D&D every once in a while. Not very often, but I do have a dice set and I keep it there. And then on the very lowest shelf, we have my, I don't know if these are like considered collector's edition, but these are like hardcover Full Metal Alchemist editions. And I have the full set there. The entire series. I've watched the series, but I have not actually read it yet. But I plan to at one point. But that is that shelf. So like I said, that's kind of the everything else shelf. That's the Nintendo shelf. But yeah, this is my gamer cave, my gaming room, where I do all my video editing and streaming. And so this is the whole tour. So this is December of 2025. I don't think I'll do this yearly. Maybe every couple years, you know, if anything were to drastically change, I probably would do one the next following year. But, you know, I plan to be in here for a few more years at least. So this is what I got going on. But it's pretty sick setup. Obviously, I'm very lucky to be able to have this alongside a bedroom. But I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know down in the comments what was the coolest thing in this collection. I'd love to hear from you guys. I appreciate you guys watching, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.